How are you doing today? Are you well, Kaylee?
Am I on? Okay,
Yes.
I'm very well. I'm very excited to be in this beautiful city, so that's a plus.
Well, this is just wonderful to have you here. Just 2 days ago, you were in Kansas City.
Yes.
Right? This is quite a trip. You
Yes.
were still jet-lagged.
I was going to say, if I don't make sense, blame it on the jet lag.
I'm sure it will make a lot of
The espresso
sense.
helps.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we're very happy to have Loukas as well. You just switched seat. This is wonderful. Thank you. You're our expert. Kaylee, we've heard a beautiful example from the beautiful world of toys.
Yes.
Right? And I'm sure with the translator, you got everything
Yes, thank
in
you.
the headset. But there's another beautiful world, and it is not the world of toys. I'm sorry, Eric. This is the world of pets.
Yes.
And now we're going to talk about pets because, Kaylee, you've been data analyst, you've worked as media strategist, and then you joined Hill's Pet Nutrition, which is one of the largest brands of the Colgate Group. So you're based in Missouri, and you came all the way for this summit, right?
Yes.
And then it happens that there is a small Cannes Lions Festival right after, so you will also go there.
Yeah, that just happened to work
But
out.
we all know why you're here, and we thank you for that.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Very welcome. So we will now jump into a beautiful story because I must say that 2 years ago, I got a call from the middle of nowhere, or the middle of, Midwest, and that was a call from someone I had never heard of, and he said, Thibaut, I've read your case with Danone. What is Danone, by the way? I said, well, you should know that. And he said, yeah, I know, I'm joking. I'm British, I'm joking. And he said, well, I've read your case and I want to do the same thing. And I said, yeah, that's fine, that's good. But, if we could do this great case, which has been actually published and translated in all languages by LiveRamp, thank you, LiveRamp, I said, if we could do that, it's because of Carrefour and it's because of LiveRamp. And I said, I will have just one question. What are your retailers like? And he said, I know all this, and no, they don't have LiveRamp technology. That's a pity. We are a high-end brand. We have specialized retailer stores, and so they don't have clean rooms yet. So he said, what should we do about that? And we started the whole project because you said, Hill's Pet Nutrition US decided to invest and build their own clean room with LiveRamp. And you choose us to make it work. Yep. And thank you, because it does work.
Yes.
So can you please tell us a little bit about how is it like to address such a fragmented retailer landscape? Because I think after seeing the case of retail media with Amazon beautiful AMC clean room, or the Bonduelle case with Carrefour, a retailer-owned clean room,
yep.
Now we'll see another case where a brand itself invests and builds its own clean room, and I think it should be really inspiring for everybody.
Yes, it's been a really unique setup with its own set of challenges, but have really started to see some great success. So first, for some context, the pet food industry in the U.S., it's a $50 billion market. So it's a decent size, and it's continuing to grow. And that is also helped by the fact that the average household in the U.S. is also continuing to increase in the number of pets they're adopting and owning. And as Thibaut had mentioned, we are one of the fastest growing divisions within Colgate. So there has been a lot of investment internally towards digital activation and transforming that space. And we've seen a lot of success with media, increasing that investment a lot. So we're at a point where we want to make sure it's being as effective as possible. And within the Hills brand umbrella, we have two brands, Science Diet, which I believe is known as Science Plan here in France, and then Prescription Diet, which is a slightly more specialty brand, more focused on treating specific medical conditions through pet food for pets. And so as far as our kind of marketing ecosystem and the key players, so within our own brand, we have several marketing campaigns. We have the Hills campaign that is promoting awareness overall, because that's somewhere we're kind of lacking at this point. And then, of course, we also support each of the brands with their own marketing campaigns. And as you mentioned with the retailers, we have 4 main retailers, Amazon being one, and then the rest being more pet specialty stores, a combination of e-commerce business as well as ones with brick and mortar locations. And there are a few additional kind of sprinkled in there just at a smaller scale. And then the vets also play a really big role in our ecosystem. Previously, the prescription diet product, we didn't even market towards consumers. It was all reliant on the vet recommendations. And so they definitely are a key player. Anytime we can get information from them, it's really beneficial as well, like pet insurance too. And then, of course, there are all our media partners. We spend a lot on the typical big players, the Amazon, Google, Facebook, or Meta. But then we also invest heavily in addressable TV. And some of the partners we work with for that area are Ampersand. They kind of aggregate several TV providers, and then as well as Dish and DirecTV.
Wonderful. So you beautifully set the landscape. I think we all understood it's complex, it's multiplayer. And now we would like to know a bit more how really the foundations were set and what kind of actual work made it possible.
Yeah, so the first 12 months was really focused on doing that groundwork, laying that foundation so we could build upon that and make sure we are starting with a solid base. And during that time, we were also securing a lot of key partnerships. So, of course, deciding to work with LiveRamp to enable the technology as far as the data clean room. And the first retailer we asked and came on board with us is Petco. So one of those top 4 that I had mentioned, and they represent about 20% of our revenue. The first big media partner we partnered with was Ampersand. So again, the ones doing the addressable TV buying. So we're able to get exposure logs from them into the clean room. And soon after came one of our programmatic DSP partners. And then we also worked with and continue to work with a lot of different third-party data providers and license their data, which has been really valuable to us because we have limited scale when it comes to our first party. So that's helped enrich that and have something different to bring when we are working with the retailers.
Great. So just so that everyone understands, you're a CPG brand, you have no data. And suddenly you start building a clean room out of nowhere, and you convince your retailers to actually bring their data and put it into the clean room that you built with LiveRamp.
Yes.
How is that possible? I think who would believe that can happen in the room? I mean,
yes, obviously a challenge. And really, the whole point was to be able to prove that it can be of value to them as well as us. We are truly partners in this pet category. And in order for us to both succeed, we needed to collaborate and share the data. So when we're succeeding, they're also succeeding. And as we'll get to, we were able to prove that out with the first pilot campaign. And that really, I think, gave them something tangible to be able to look at, and is going to definitely help us in future conversations with more retailers.
So do you actually yourself have access to the retailer level data?
Yes, key call out. I do not have direct access. So that is where Numberly has played a really critical role as being more of a neutral third party. It definitely brings ease to those retailers knowing that there still is a little level of padding between the data. It's not being directly viewed by us as the brand.
So that's important. That's the critical role of a trusted third-party partner, right? Un tiers de confiance in French. And that was the only condition under which the retailers accepted to put their data into your clean room. And it was that you yourself couldn't directly access the data, but we could on behalf of you and of them.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
That's something very important. So please, could we quickly go through some milestones in the project?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, during those 12 months, we produced a lot of documentation, but some of the key ones were data audit and valuation, which was super helpful when it came to that third-party data, trying to figure out, is this cost really worth it? Is it providing value? So that helps in that area. We've also developed shared learning agendas. Of course, internally, there's a lot of stakeholders as well as externally. So being able to outline those use cases and being very clear in where we want to go forward has been very beneficial. And then, of course, looking at the audience planning and the approach to that. Again, changing ways that people are very used to when it comes to audience planning. With this new technology, we have to teach them how the process will change, what we can now do in a more data-driven way when it comes to audiences.
Luca, when you hear audience planning, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I think to really understand what happens, it's really another way to see collaboration between companies, because we are working day to day with Kaylee, with the media agency, and we are really in a new world of hybridization where we have regular meetings, as you say, where we align agendas, where we transform, where we move all the borders, the frontiers that were happening before. CRM and media, no. CRM and media work together, and data works together, and trade works together. Then, of course, you need some organization, but you need to make that work together. And so you need to organize that, to prove the value, and to start shaping a trajectory.
Wonderful. This is all very nice, my friends, but now we want to see real facts. We want to build the case, because theory is not enough. I think Stéphane made it very clear earlier. We want scale, we want figures, so please show us.
Yes, so this was our first pilot campaign with the Petco retailer, and our main business objective, again, was to just grow the pet food category, so making sure it was of value to them as well as ourselves, and of course, acquire new households. That's been a big goal for Hills, and one Petco is interested in as well. And it also provided an opportunity to really test out the operations of the clean room, making sure we were able to overlap those different data sets that are coming from the brand, retailer, and third parties. And so we used all those to develop 4 different target audiences that we then activated programmatically. Again, through the LiveRamp technology, it's very seamless. We could pipe those audiences directly to the DSP, and we activated those with display banner ads that were co-branded between Petco and Hills.
Wonderful. Can we get some results? So this is just the incrementality setting that I guess you guys set in place. We kind of help you with that. Randomization is critical to measure the true impact. So again, you selected records and people in your retailer's database, and you made the test and control, you exposed some of them, you redirected this traffic to the retailers, and now...
Maybe one point on that, because it's key. What I heard from Hills teams was that they could get back some control within the relationship with the retailer, and they could understand what works and what doesn't work, and not depend only on the teams of the retailer. And that's key in the experimentation, is that you can get back some control on what you do and make sure the investment is worth, right?
Yes, definitely.
So you're going to make us quite jealous, because we previously showed a beautiful case, at least we find it, and it won a prize in France last week for Bonduel with an 8% conversion rate increase. And please, can you give us the figure here?
Yes, as you can see, there was a 56% increase in the conversion rate that we saw with the group that was exposed. So we were very happy with that, and that equated to almost 1 million in actual sales from totally new buyers. And just to give context again, our investment was relatively small for given our overall budget, but this test was $300,000, so it easily paid for itself. And if we continue to forecast that out, if those people continue to be repeat buyers, we're looking at upwards of over 4 million in sales. So again, really helps rationalize this investment that we put in place.
Yeah, I think this was quite a small investment. Come on. You could go for a bit more here. Such results. So quite impressive. Now, almost coming to the end already, we want to talk about what's next, right? Because you've had this wonderful test, but we want to talk about the expansion and how you're looking at the specific partners maybe to collaborate in the future.
Yes, definitely. I think you'll hear some common themes here as far as wanting to scale and continue to sophisticate what we are doing. So when it comes to the media publishers, we're looking to partner with more of those. We've already talked to DirecTV and Dish and working on getting access to those TV exposure logs, and also ones like Pinterest. So really looking to expand our coverage of our media investment, and then of course looking to expand to more of our retailers. The hope is, based on conversations we're having, we hope to have 2 more partner with us by the end of the year.
This is incredible. 2 more retailer partners?
Yes.
That would take you to pretty much which percentage of coverage of your total sales of Hill's, sales in...
It would be over 50% of the coverage, yeah.
Over 50% of a CPG brand captured with retailers into your own infrastructure. Talk about media and publisher a little bit, because we will have later on a Snapchat, I think, and a great example is coming up as well. But tell us about how critical this has been in the overall picture.
Yeah, I look at it as, of course, being these 3 key pieces. We have the media piece is just as valuable as it is for the retailers in having that data set, because we want to know, again, to make the media more effective and efficient, is it actually driving people to make an action? Is that exposure driving that action, or is it something that would have happened otherwise?
That's very interesting. Luca, I know there's a point we haven't touched on so far, and I know you haven't prepared the question, so I'm glad to ask it to you, but it's about the panel level data. How critical were they, and how were they incorporated into the overall system?
Yeah, so in the US, you have access to panel data and granular data about almost all Americans, which is not the case in Europe, so it's quite strange at the beginning to understand it. It's not as qualitative or as precise as a retailer transaction. So again, it was not one or the other, but it was how to leverage this panel data to bridge the gaps that we had at the time, to model the data and then prepare the field for what's coming after. I think one important point we didn't mention enough before, that it's such a new world that there is a big part of this journey which is refining, like in the, I don't like to call it the petrol industry. You have to refine the data to make it valuable, to understand its value, then to be able to trade it or to connect it. So this panel and maybe the media data for the media people here can be a real asset also if you share it for the big platforms.
So you have 50% of your retail level data into the platform, thanks to LiveRamp Safe Haven here. You have, you didn't give the figure. What about your media exposure? What's the rate, the coverage here that you have into the system?
Yeah, so right now with Ampersand, that represents about 18% of our media investment. And then along with the Trade Desk, the DSP that we're using, that's probably an additional 10%. So that's an area we're definitely looking to grow and increase. So
we're talking 28% of coverage of your total media exposure, which we can say is your media budget, digital, an idea, rough idea, are you allowed to say?
Oh gosh, several million.
Yeah. Okay, several tens of millions. So we're talking a big figure here. So what's next, Kaylee? I mean, you have everything. I don't know why you're here. What makes us dream a bit? What's next?
Yes, of course. There's always more to go after. And to this point, this kind of was touching on how we want to continue to become more sophisticated in the analytics that we're doing. So, of course, through that data audit and evaluation process, how can we continue to iterate and improve that? We have a data scientist on the team that we're looking to leverage to do some audience modeling, incorporate propensity models to get more sophisticated when we are defining those target audiences. And of course, just more standardization of process, such as the common definitions of how do we technically define a new buyer or a lapsed buyer in preparation really for more of those retailers to come on board.
Wonderful. You know, there's something I haven't really told you so far, Kaylee. It is the fact that I've been receiving a couple of calls recently because of this case, and it is calls I did not really expect. I received calls, believe it or not, from US veterinarians. They called me and they said, we've seen the case, how we could join the party. So what would be your answer to these vets who also want, to join the party, who want maybe a room, also who maybe could bring interesting data to you? And by the way, there's still no GDPR for pets in the US. And who could also potentially access some data. Maybe you could monetize it with them, and maybe this could go from a cost center to a profit center.
Oh, yes, they'd be welcomed with open arms, more the merrier. Kind of similarly to the challenge with children, of course, you can't target pets, but having that knowledge of if somebody's pet has a dental condition, and then we could serve the customer ad with a product specifically for treating that condition, I think would really go a long ways and help us get to that more personalized message. So if the vets, are willing to share that data with us, I think that would exponentially increase the success of this data collaboration.
And I also had calls from actually pet insurance companies, which as well have data and would like to join the party. So you now start talking about a pet data consortium.
Yes. Yeah, it's something we've definitely discussed internally, trying to build out the profile of the actual pet and then match those and map them to the owners, who of course then we would go after and target the owners. But really having that knowledge about the pet is something that doesn't exist, not something we can go out and purchase at this time. So kind of looks to us to collaborate with those types of people to build that.
This is incredible. Do we have questions in the room? Oh my goodness. Yes, we do. Two of them. Eric, please. You want to switch toys to pets?
With a budget, yeah. Currently, mine is small one. Yeah, just a question about the data coming from the retailers. Who is the owner of the data after? Because you send to a first party, and how it works with the retailers. They are not disturbed about using data from other retailers altogether.
Yeah, so that's an area we definitely need to be very sensitive about, and we are very upfront and transparent with the retailers in the ways we're using their data, making sure they're always informed. At this point, since we do just have one retailer partner, we haven't run into that, but it's something we're anticipating of gonna have to keep the data separate between the different retailers and respect that boundary. But as far as ownership, Petco, the retailer, also has their own environment. They can access, they can see all the data that they've shared. They select what they want to permission over to us. And it's definitely a give and take because we have data that we've also agreed to permission and give to them.
Okay.
But it's a question of also governance. It's a question of maturity. You need to articulate an ecosystem. It takes time. honestly, it takes time. You need to do things and being aware of the question it raises, because you don't want to take all the value from the retailer. It's a balance to find, and sometimes crazy calls, sometimes 25 people in the call. But at the end, the world is multi-agency, multi-retailer, multi-tech also, because we are not talking only about LiveRamp, but we are talking about a myriad of partners, because when you talk with a partner, he doesn't necessarily have the same technology as you. So how do you make the connection between the two? That's and we didn't solve all the problems, by the way. We are actively working on them. So
I think there was another question. Yes, Edouard. Good to see you.
Hello, Kaylee. Thank you very much for sharing. Very inspiring. Congrats, because it's very bold as well. So very inspiring. Quick question about the relationship with retailers as well. How did you reach an agreement with them regarding the costs of their data? You said it's a win-win relationship. If you win, they win. Does it mean audience data is free or not?
Yeah, so we did take on a bulk of the cost as Hills, because we knew this is a tough thing for them to accept. So we wanted to make sure this offering that we're bringing to them is as easy for them as possible. We have a lot of the resources on our side to, clean the data, make sure it's in a good state. So that was a cost we were willing to accept, knowing the benefits that would come out of it.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. I think it's definitely an incredible case. We're all waiting for the next steps. And now is the time for a break. So see you all. You can ask all your questions to Kaylee. And thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.